Hello, today I just read chapter 13. Well, I read it yesterday, but I'm going to be doing the discussion questions today. The Early Church by Henry Chadwick is what I'm currently reading. Just finished chapter 13, and I'm going to read the question for you. Discuss the life of John Chrysostom, sorry if I said that wrong, in the context of the fashionable Constantinople. What makes his story so regrettable, and what lessons can we learn about the relationship between church and state and the role of the church in secular societies? So this man, John Chrysostom, he got elected the Bishop of Constantinople. Constantinople, let's say it's like LA, let's say Constantinople and Rome can be compared to LA and New York, okay? So he became bishop, and he realized that the previous bishop was very, very lax about the rules, and he allowed a lot of very, very immoral clergy to stay in their positions. And before John became bishop, he was a monk, and he lived a very ecstatic life. He lived as a hermit once in the wilderness, but doing so and all the fastings completely ruined his stomach and his health, so he needed to be back in society. And then, because of his renown and stuff for being such a faithful servant, he was putting as the bishop of Constantinople. Oh goodness sakes. Anyways, he was bishop of Constantinople, and he realized how immoral all the clergy were. So everybody who's not following the rules, not correctly, obviously nobody's perfect, but those who really were in those positions for power, not God, he got rid of it. He made so many reforms in the church, made sure the laws were enforced. Another thing he would do is, because of his stomach, he would not go to rich banquets and parties in Constantinople. And at this time, these were thrown in his honor. So these people would invite you. And this was like an honor. They were like, you are the Pope. We would like you in our, not Pope, sorry, Bishop. And we are inviting you to our home. We are rich, we are prominent, and we would like you, a very prominent figure in our town, to come to our prominent figurely house. And this is, of course, an honor, and this was how society and culture worked at that time. And he would, of course, refuse because he could not eat. There's very few things he could. And they thought, oh, he's just like greedy and rich, and he's living in the wine cellar, kind of a slang. And they also thought him very, very rude, that he would ignore or deny their requests. And he himself, they thought him even more rude, and like, how dare he not throw lavish, extravagant parties, because he did his role as the bishop, and he did his role as a spiritual leader. And their previous bishop, and what they expected him to be, a prominent figure of society, and he did not live up to their expectations of that. So that's what happened. That's what he was like. In addition to this, even, he actually preached sermons to convict them of their sin at this time. So he would preach on their lavishness. He would preach on their, such as like, you have 10 villas and yet you do not even give to the poor. You turn them away. He would preach on the men, like, cheating on their wives and then punishing their wives if their wives cheated on them, the double standards between that. He really addressed all of the awful problems in Constantinople that the people held to and was normal culture for them. He would preach on the women being way too lavish, having way too many possessions and caring too much about them and not caring for the poor. And so he kept convicting them, and they really did not like him. They wanted somebody who made them feel good about themselves. Honestly, reading about him made me think of my old pastor, Jeff Durbin. Just like he's just calling them out on absolutely everything he possibly can. And the culture did not like this. Like I said before, this can be compared to New York and LA. Rome and Constantinople can be compared to this. So let's say that this one is LA. And the people don't want to hear that. This is how the people act, and this is the culture of their time. And he kind of upset that. And so he upset a lot of people because of him preaching the truth to them and him not allowing all of that awful lavishness and the immoralities to continue. And eventually, he even upset the empress herself because of his actions. He compared her to Jezebel because of her actions, and her actions against him, too. And this eventually got him exiled. But, yeah, that was him, and that was the very unfortunateness of what happened was him being exiled because of him speaking the truth. And I think he eventually, forgive me if I'm wrong, got killed because of this. Let's see, one sec. He died, yeah. He died on the journey, but he was exiled because of him being an actual righteous and good bishop and the people not liking to hear that what they were doing was wrong. And this was very important because, let's see, it says, what lessons can we learn about the relationships between the church and society? The church should not conform to society. The church should not conform to its rules, as the Church of Constantinople was doing, and as John Chrysostom tried to fix. So, this relationship, the church honestly shouldn't get along with society. It should be apart from society and help society change, as John Chrysostom was doing. So this is such an awful tragedy, but also an inspiration, that he was telling the truth, and that the other bishops, even bishops themselves, were convicted of this in the people. And it took them a very long time to realize that, yeah, what we did was wrong. They didn't even put his name, like many bishops were. They didn't consider him a martyr or anything, even though he died while in exile for believing what he believed and staying true to that. And that is the role the church should assume in society. And Justin Chrysostom is a fantastic representative and example of that. Thank you.